there, today I will be sharing 5 new dump and go family favorite casseroles with you, and if you haven't made a dump and go casserole yet, well, it's going to be a game changer for you today. Let's get to my kitchen and let's get to cooking. To kick us off today, we are making this ham and broccoli rice casserole. So I have a 9x13 baking dish right here. I did spray it with nonstick spray. Then I added in 2 cups of chicken broth. Next, add in a 10-ounce can of cream of chicken soup. Or if you have my cookbook, you can make the homemade version of cream of chicken soup. It is on page 230 if you would prefer to do that. But now I'm going to add in a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, and then a teaspoon of onion powder, garlic powder, and paprika, but you could use any seasonings that you would like if you don't want to use these ones. I'm going to give this a really good whisk to combine the cream of soup and the broth. Now that this is well combined, I'm going to add in 1 cup of uncooked jasmine rice, or you could use regular white rice. Next, add in 1/2 cup of shredded cheddar cheese or any cheese you like, and if you're not a cheese fan, you could leave the cheese out. Then I added in a 12-ounce frozen bag of broccoli. Next, 16 ounces of diced ham, or you could use a pound of cubed chicken breast if you'd rather kind of make this like a chicken casserole. But I'm going to give this a stir now and then cover this tightly with foil. Bake this in a preheated oven to 375 degrees for about 55 minutes or until the rice is tender. At that point, just remove the foil and give this a stir. Now sprinkle 1 cup more shredded cheddar cheese on the top and then bake this for an additional 10 minutes until the cheese is to the meltiness that you like it to be, and then you could serve this beautiful casserole up. We are huge fans of this casserole in my house. I love it because you have your grains, your protein, and your veggie all in one. So you just seriously throw everything together. It really is easy to make this dinner. And then, like I said before, if you don't want to use ham, you could always use chicken as a substitute. This is so good. Now we're getting started on this cheesy tortellini casserole. So to the pan on my stove, I'm adding 1 pound of ground beef, or you could use Italian sausage if you like. I also added 1 diced yellow onion in, break the ground beef up and cook it through. Once it's cooked through, bring it over to a greased 9x13 baking dish and add that ground beef onion mixture right in there. Now I'm going to add in 1 19-ounce bag of frozen cheese tortellini, then add in a 24-ounce jar of marinara sauce. Any brand will work. I also added 1/3 cup of water into that jar and I kind of gave it a little shake and then added it in. Then for the cheese, I added 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese and 1/3 cup of Parmesan cheese. And then for the seasonings, I added in a teaspoon of onion powder, garlic powder, and oregano. I gave this a stir and then I sprinkled 1/2 cup more shredded mozzarella cheese over the top. This baked in a preheated oven to 375 degrees, covered with foil for 25 minutes, then uncovered for an additional 20 minutes. Here's my plate of food. For having such minimal ingredients, this dinner has such immense flavor. It really is delicious. I serve this with a side salad with spring mix, yellow and red tomatoes because that's what my store had, and then a little bit of ranch dressing and onion. This dinner was a total hit. Now we're making this teriyaki chicken casserole. So on my cutting board, we're going to start out by cutting up our vegetables. I diced a yellow onion and a red bell pepper. Now I'm going to cut 2 heads of broccoli into smaller pieces. I have a 9x13 baking dish right here. I sprayed it with nonstick spray. Next, I added in about 1 pound of cubed chicken breast. Now add those cut up vegetables right into your baking dish. And I found some carrots in my fridge last minute, so I sliced those carrots into smaller pieces. It's about 1/2 cup of sliced carrots. The carrots are optional. You don't have to add them in if you don't want to. Now I'm adding in 3/4 cup of teriyaki sauce. I'm using the Panda Express teriyaki sauce. I found it at Walmart, but any brand of teriyaki sauce will certainly work. Give this a stir so everything is coated well. Bake this in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 40 to 45 minutes or until the chicken's cooked through and the broccoli's tender. Here's my plate of food. We served ours alongside of a bed of a little bit of steamed white rice. This is so flavorful and good, and I love this recipe because you can make it your own by adding different vegetables if you'd like, subtracting different vegetables, really doing what you want to it. It's so good. Now we're making this shipwreck casserole, so over to the pan on my stove, I'm adding in a pound of ground beef. If you don't want to use ground beef, you could use any meat substitute you like, or you could use ground chicken or ground turkey. Break the ground beef up and cook it through. Now just set it to the side over to my cutting board. I'm just slicing 3 carrots, a yellow onion, a half of a head of cabbage, and I'm just dicing a green bell pepper. Now over to this big bowl, I'm adding in the cooked ground beef. Next, add in those vegetables that we just cut up. And I do want to let you know, if you don't care for any of these particular vegetables like the cabbage, you could use like celery instead of the cabbage. You could really make this your own. But now I'm adding in 4 cups of shredded frozen hash browns, 3/4 cup of instant minute rice. Next, add in 1 cup of tomato sauce, followed by 2.5 cups of water. Now I'm going to add in 1 can of diced tomatoes, and then for the seasonings, I'm keeping it pretty simple, but these seasonings are bold. A teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of pepper, a teaspoon of garlic powder, onion powder, Italian seasoning, and paprika. The last thing you're going to add in is 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. Give this a really good stir. Looking at it, I know what you're probably thinking, but let's just keep going. Spray a 9x13 baking dish with nonstick spray, add the casserole right in there, and spread it out. I know this isn't the most beautiful casserole in the world right now. It's not glamorous, but you just have to trust me. It is so amazingly delicious. Cover the top tightly with aluminum foil and bake it in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for 60 minutes. Remove the foil and give this a stir. And then you are just going to kind of spread it out and then sprinkle about 3/4 cup more shredded cheese over the top. If you're not a cheese fan, just don't add the cheese. Bake this for an additional 15 minutes, and then here is my plate of food. This is so delicious. If you're a cabbage fan, you are going to get seconds, even thirds of this like I did. Like I said before, it's not the most glamorous casserole, but it is mighty delicious. You really have to try it out. You're going to love it. Now we are making this butter chicken and rice, so over to my greased 9x13 baking dish, add in 1 cup of uncooked jasmine rice. Now add in 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Next, a 1.5 cups of chicken broth. Now I'm going to add in a tablespoon of minced garlic. This is fresh minced garlic. If you also have fresh minced ginger, add in a tablespoon of that, but I just didn't have fresh minced ginger on hand, so that's why I didn't add it in. Next, I added in a 14-ounce can of fire roasted diced tomatoes, followed by a 1.5 pounds of chicken thighs that I cubed. Now season this with a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, then 2 teaspoons of gram masala seasoning, and then 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. If you add the fresh ginger, you don't have to use the ground ginger. Give this a stir, and I do want to let you know, if you don't want to use chicken thighs, you could use chicken breast as a substitute. I just like the chicken thighs because they're a little bit more juicy for this recipe. Cover this tightly with foil and bake this in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, give this a stir, then bake this for an additional 15 minutes or until the rice is fluffy tender. Oh man, if you're a fan of butter chicken, you really need to try this butter chicken casserole. We love to squeeze ours with a little bit of fresh lime juice and fresh cilantro over the top. It gives it added flavor. And then we always like to serve it with naan bread. I just found these little naan bread pieces at my store, but this is so flavorful and good. I have so many more easy dinner videos like this on my channel, so make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.